How's everybody doing tonight? Please don't be shy about sharing in the comments. Let us know. Make it interactive. It'll be more fun. So I got some beer on the screen right now. Well, I'll talk about the beer, but we're going to talk about some other stuff. Although I'll start with the beer just for fun. So I'm not going to assemble a model today. I'm sure I will again at some point, but not today. Maybe it even will be like Saturdays and Sundays I don't do models, and on the other days I do. Monday through Friday like a job, and then Saturday, Sunday like a weekend, take it off. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it. But anyway, I think there's going to be a lot more videos like this in the future, kind of like not very focused. We call the podcast Just Rest Your Eyes, so obviously you shouldn't listen to this while driving, but while falling asleep. So I think I'm going to sort of embrace that in that I could say whatever I want here. It could be, as boring, as meaningless as a random trip to Pottsville, PA that I took today, because I'm not claiming to be an expert. I'm just claiming to talk while you fall asleep. So anyway, when we were there because my wife and I went with our son. He was taking the SAT there. Apparently that was the closest place that was offering an August SAT, so that's why we were there. I'll sort of go through in order and do some other fun stuff. In fact, maybe I won't go through in order. So the first thing we're going to do is not in order. So we brought 48 cans/bottles of beer while we were there, because I don't know if you can make this out here. It says down here, America's oldest brewery. So that's Yuengling. I think that's how they told us it's pronounced. Yuengling beer. It's apparently the oldest continuously operating brewery in the United States. At least that's what they claim. America's oldest beer. And I didn't open this one, but I love the look of it. I know that it's Pennsylvania and not Milwaukee, but this almost looks like a Milwaukee Brewers uniform. It's probably something in the brewing tradition. We've got the pinstripes on the box, the pinstripe on the can. Looks pretty cool. Since 1829, although, 1829, so 195 years. For example, one of the things we did when we were there, we went to their park, which is called Bicentennial Park, because they're about to be 200 years old. It says YS here because I have it here somewhere. I'm going to show you the pictures in a minute. But it's Yuengling and Sons was the original name of it. Yeah, you can see that there. DY Yuengling, DG Yuengling and Son. I'm not an expert at this thing, but it's a local brewery to the town that we happen to be in. So my son's test was from 8 a.m. to 10:45. He walked in the building at 7:45. So we had basically 3 hours to, spend in Pottsville, PA. And one of the things we did before we left was pick up these beers. So this is the premium. This is the sort of standard bearer of Yuengling. I didn't try it yet because this case is for my dad. So we're going to visit him next weekend, and then we'll open this and I'll be able to give you, a review of it. But the ones we did try, I picked this one out. They actually had a lot of, I don't remember them all, but they had a lot of options. And this Yuengling Black and Tan, I don't know how to even describe it to you other than to say I took one sip and ran with the bottle to my wife and told her, you have to try this because it was so good. I was very happy with it. Do you have an opinion on this Yuengling Black and Tan?
I think my reaction was, I said it tasted like a mix of Guinness with kvass.
Guinness with kvass. Kvass is like a Russian, not exactly root beer. There's like a tiny bit of alcohol. Fermented, what would you call kvass? Fermented rye bread drink. Yeah. So, Guinness, you might know, like St. Patty's Day, I think they sell more Guinness than any other day in the year. And kvass is this fermented rye bread, almost like a sarsaparilla drink or something like that from old-timey days. Anyway, you can just think of it as a black and tan.
Still very popular. They sell it like very white.
I meant old-timey days, I meant the sarsaparilla. And my wife reminds me they still sell kvass, very popular drink, but the sarsaparilla is not as popular as it once was. Anyway, this black and tan was amazing. America's oldest brewery. I feel like I should have got this for free. I got a 12-pack of the black and tan, a 12-pack of the Bongo Fizz, which I'll talk about in a minute, and the 24-pack of the Yingling, and it was $41 for all three. But since I'm doing a stream, I almost feel like, well, why did I have to pay at all? But anyway, I guess to keep it honest, I paid. So, Bongo Fizz, we got. Premium beer with natural mango flavor. Got a little Adirondack chair. I love Adirondack chairs. There's a pug and a parrot on it. I like the logo even of this Bongo Fizz. I like this like empty frame. I don't know. I like it. I also like it's gold and silver on the top. Like it's just like aluminum, I'm sure, but it's like, I don't know, it has a look to it. Taste wise, I'm not so sure. I'll tell you, let me start with the good. They did the fizz really good. In fact, I think I recognize this font. I probably could get back to you with what it is, but anyway, it's like highly bubbly drink, and like they feel like light bubbles. They don't like hurt or anything. It's like it just feels like when you drink it, there's like a million bubbles. I don't know how it does that. I don't know what the bongo means. Maybe bongos like those like drums or whatever that people play. I don't know if that's a reference to that, but anyway. It's a mango flavored beer. You taste the beer. You taste the mango. There's something else. And it could be this something. I'm associating it with this something else. If you've ever had like bubblegum flavored soda or bubblegum flavored ice cream, I identified that bubblegum flavoring in this drink, and it was like a huge turnoff to me. But I also strongly tasted mango. Like I had a bag of dried mangoes, and I was like comparing, and it absolutely tastes like mango. So now I'm thinking, have I been turned off because the bubblegum ice cream and bubblegum, sodas and these various bubblegum flavored products, did they use mango to create the art? Like, was mango flavor used to create the bubblegum, or did they add the bubblegum flavor to this, in which case it's probably not the best. The person who sold it to us was some like outlet that was like a couple of blocks from the brewery. And she said it was the second formula for this Bongo Fizz. So maybe they haven't totally figured it out yet. But that bubblegum is a turnoff. But it could be not Bongo Fizz's fault. I'll tell you a story. Mint jam or mint jelly. Have you ever had mint jelly? So if you've ever had mint jelly, maybe you put it on lamb sauce, or maybe you just made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with mint jelly. Mint jelly tastes like mint. And it tastes like it reminds you sometimes of toothpaste, because they'll put mint in toothpaste. But that's nothing against the jam, because it's coming from the mint. Like, mint is a real thing. It's like a plant that grows, or however they harvest mint. Anyway, mint is a natural thing, but they've put it in toothpaste and, mints or whatever for so long that people associate it with like toothpaste, when really it's like perfectly fine. It's a natural product, but it doesn't feel natural to people. And I'm thinking, if they were using mango to simulate bubblegum all these years, then I've created this association with bubblegum flavoring, and now it's like ruining the bongo fizz for me. But that could be a turnoff to me, and it could be fun to someone else, because Polar, what is that? Polar orange cream? No, what is the name? Polar vanilla orange, maybe? There's a drink. It's like Polar vanilla orange, I think, maybe, and it tastes like an orange creamsicle. And people like it because of that. Like, nobody's complaining that the Polar orange vanilla like tastes like an orange creamsicle, even though that's a totally artificial flavor. Yeah, Polar orange vanilla. There it is. Oh no, it's not Polar. That's not the company I'm thinking of. Who's another company that makes seltzer? Well, it's definitely not Polar. Oh no, it is Polar. Okay, they just have a new label. I didn't recognize that label. But this one, yeah, that's absolutely the Polar orange vanilla. Right, that's it. And that tastes like an orange creamsicle, at least to me. I'm going to bring up the orange creamsicle. It was like, I don't know if you've ever had it. It definitely was a thing in the 70s when I was like a kid. It had like an orange, like crackle sort of shell. And inside it had some white. Yeah, that's it. That's an orange creamsicle. So this is kind of a big one. There also were like skinnier ones. I don't know if we go to the images, if we'll see the skinnier version from the ice cream truck. Yeah, there's the skinnier version, although they're showing it like already half gone. Yeah, I mean, look at that. That looks small and skinny. Anyway, this is probably, I don't know why we can't get a full image of like the one from my childhood. Nobody's like showing it in full. They're showing it partial. But anyway, the Polar orange vanilla has the Polar creamsicle taste. By the way, I think there's something wrong with the mic today. I see it keeps going into the red range. I'm going to try to lower that a little bit. That didn't work. All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, all right. It's not hitting red so much. Maybe it's still going to hit it, though. Let me see. Okay. I have to work on that. I keep hitting the red. Anyway. Before I even get into everything I saw today, there was one other thing. I'm just going to mention this because it's sort of an ongoing like project, and every time I mention it, I say the song remains the same, so I can Google it later, because one day there's going to be a documentary. There is a video about Led Zeppelin called The Song Remains the Same, like a movie, like a concert video, but mine is a philosophy. And I mention it every time it comes up, and it kind of came up on this trip because where my son was taking the test, it was 1600 something Avenue, and it was in Pennsylvania. And like the biggest topic in the news this week was like the presidency, and the president's office is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And maybe that's like a small thing, but I'll give you a bigger one. I'll give you the one where it came up. I'll give you a wild story. So something happened, and I didn't tell anyone that it happened. But I thought about it, but I didn't say it out loud. And then someone was asking me, like, the person was saying, do you ever have, like, she didn't call it supernatural experiences, but she was like, do you ever have situations where like something's going to happen, or you feel like something you predict or something someone else says or does and they're going to do it or something like that? Things that are like statistically beyond coincidence type of thing, or maybe they are just coincidences. No, I sort of ruined it by mentioning statistically beyond coincidence, because that's the one that I'm going to bring up. Although anything can be a coincidence. Someone just won this lottery for like 128 billion, so it could happen. Anything could happen, or 128 million. I don't know what it was. 1.28 billion, is that what it was? Oh, right. Someone won 1.28 billion, and the GPS said 128 miles when I started the drive today. But that's not the coincidence. This was like 15, 20 years ago. This person asked me this, and I said, yeah, there was something. We use this code. This is like, and nowadays it's on the phone, but back then it was like this little key fob, and it would have these numbers that would generate. And I was like, also back then, 20 years ago, people used to pay their bills by writing out checks. So I was like writing out checks, and I keep writing my account number because I'm like keeping track of whatever the bills that I'm paying. And I keep writing it each time so I remember which check I used to pay each bill. I'm like recording it. And then I finish paying the bills, and then I go to log in. And then this key fob, which changes every 60 seconds, it has the same number. The same number that I had just written on like half a dozen checks, all of a sudden is on this randomly generated every 60 seconds key fob, and I type it in, and I'm able to access my work. You could say it's all a scam and my work is involved. No, I can't say that. First of all, I'd be fired if I said that. But second of all, that would be an insane thing to accuse someone of. But anyway, so I tell this person that, yeah, it was weird when that happened, because I started to think like the logic behind it, and I couldn't come up with it, because I don't believe in like that metaphysical stuff. So I came up with like a psychology answer, and I was like, and I said, I got scared for a moment. Like, what if I'm been in a coma for 30 years and I'm imagining not only the bank account number, but the key fob number? And this eventually leads to this song remains the same theory, which is that there is some, I'm calling it a song. You can call it whatever you want. It could be like the last 30 minutes of 2001: A Space Odyssey, but it's basically some repeating something. Call it electromagnetic, call it audio, color. It's all the sort of things that you can render with your senses. And you can think of it as like a donut that's like spinning around or whatever. So like, depending when you were born or where you're located at that moment or what your references is, that's like determining what part of the song you're looking at that second, and how you're like rendering it in your mind. And everyone's doing this. And sometimes I even took this to the extreme and would say like, I mean, this is just a theory, not even a theory that I necessarily believe in, but it's a theory I've been working on. And sometimes I even think like, what if humans don't exist? What if the song exists, but the humans are all just the avatar species? Like maybe someone's a fish and someone's a zebra and someone's a ostrich, but in all of their renderings of the signal, that's how the human world like interacts with each other. I'm getting a little off base here. Let me go back to the story. I'll finish that story another day, the humans don't exist theory, but let's just go back to the coworker theory. So later, like it might have been even like a month later, something like that. I'm like, everyone has this place they go on the web, and it's like this forum I go to. And maybe you've even seen this meme. Maybe everyone's seen it. But it was shocking to me because I just had that conversation with someone else, a month earlier. And it's like this graphic shows up, and it's like, you've been in a coma for 30 years. We're trying something new. We're pretty sure this is going to show up, but we don't know where you're going to see this, but it's going to show up somewhere, and et cetera, whatever it is. And at that point, I thought that I was being like effed with, and I didn't appreciate that. So that's that story. But anyway, it still comes up because it'll just happen a lot. I'll think like, why do these things like line up? I don't know. They're just coincidences, I guess. But I'm getting way off topic considering this stream has been going on for 20 minutes and it mentions Pottsville, PA. And I haven't talked about Pottsville, PA much. But the very first thing we did in Pottsville, PA references this theory that you think of stuff and then you see it in the real world. So my wife and I, we're far from being able to retire or even be independent. But we sometimes have thought, like, what would we do if we were? Like, what's our plan in life? And the plan we came up with is that we're going to have... the plan is we're going to have a coffee shop. And in that coffee shop, there's going to be free books that anyone could read. And that there's also going to be baked goods that we baked at home. And there's going to be food that we can make, but it's simple food. We'll basically just make you a sandwich. And then on like Friday nights or Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoons, whenever, we're going to do painting lessons. So that's like our idea. And we came up with this like 10 years ago. We think it's an original idea. Well, turns out that's the first thing that happens. So let me zoom in on this picture. It's like the first picture we took this morning. So pressed coffee and books. So this shop had our idea. It was a coffee shop that had free books and it had baked goods, and they'll make you sandwiches if you ask them. I don't know if they do painting lessons on Fridays and nights and Sunday afternoons as we were thinking of doing, but maybe they do something else. Maybe they do poetry readings. I don't know. But I thought it was interesting that this idea that we've been talking about for 10 years, they already did it. By the way, I told this story to my son, and he wasn't impressed. He said, it seems like a pretty basic idea. So he's thinking like every town has a place where you can have read books while you drink coffee, and maybe he's right. But here's what else I want to show on this sign. So, see how that sign is all rusty? Manhattan Tango. So, even if you think back here, this is called Bongo. I don't know why this is called Bongo Fizz, but this place is called Manhattan Tango. So, my job's in Manhattan, and this is Manhattan Tango. And this is, and this drink is Bongo and Fizz. I mean, that's the other theory I sometimes have with this song remains the same. If it is all rendering, I feel like my rendering is lazy. Why is the bongo and the Manhattan Tango? Is that how often in the day? What else ends in ongo? Congo, bongo. This is already bongo. So we only thought of 3 so far. So anyway, it's not just the Manhattan Tango. Look how old this sign is. Look how old this thing that the sign is on. And not only is it old, but it's rusted. Yes, that's part of old. But the design of it is not the design people do these days. And this whole town is like this. I don't want to say everything in this town, but a lot of this town is like this. A lot of it is very old. Let me see if I could find some stuff here. All right. I'm trying to find this mansion that we saw. Is this it? Yeah, that's it. It's not really a good view of it, but it's some mansion, and it had a lot of repairs on the roof. And some of these buildings would say how old they were, and they would be like 130 years old or 150 years old. And that particular one, that mansion one, it had sidewalks. Some of the pieces of sidewalk were made of slate. You know slate, like they make pool tables out of? Like, who makes sidewalks out of slate? Although I have actually seen that before in Lake Placid, so, which I guess is not really that far away. So, and some people might be living in some of these places, so I don't want to, like, you know, make too big a deal about it. But there's definitely a lot of old stuff there. Like, it's fun just to even look at it. But you can do more than look at it. So I'm going to skip to something else here. I have got a couple of things set up. So, yeah, that was the creamsicle. So, Pottsville, PA. I didn't even look at this page yet. We can look together. It's the Wikipedia page. And then Yingling, which is the brewery, their Wikipedia page. But what I want to check out first was the Zillow. So I ran a search, and some of these are like really cheap. Some of them were like kind of crazy. Let me see if I can find one of the crazy ones. Okay, here's one. This is a church, or at least it was a church. I guess it would still be a church because they're saying 0 beds, 1 bath, but like there's a church for sale. I mean, I guess churches go for sale when nobody's using them, but how about this one? It's a $400K. Take a look at this thing. It says 12 baths, 10,700. And we remember walking by this when we were there, 10,700 square feet. So I think it said like Assumption on it. I think if we click in, we'll see the name. But it was a school, basically. This was a school. So it's got many stories. You can see there's a cross on top. Somewhere you'll see the sign. Was it on that last image? It's somewhere. But anyway, it said 12 baths. That's because I think it's already been, 12 bedrooms. I think it's already been kind of reconstructed. I don't know if the last owner was the school or not. All right, here's the name. I can't zoom in on this image, but it says Assumption Gym School. So I don't know exactly what that means, but it's Assumption Gym School. There's another closer image of that. This thing's only $400K. I don't know if it's like condemned or if you can move right in or what you would do with it. Would you turn it into an apartment building? Would you like film a movie in there about some creepy ghost in a school? But like there's the entrance, a very small foyer, but it's there. It's got some sort of elevator, fire extinguishers there. I think the staircase, when you see it, yeah, that looks like very much like a school. I mean, the radiator, the staircase, the metal, the paint job, it all looks, very authentic, and it looks like it was used at some point. It doesn't look like, I don't know. It's like interesting there. What else? There's the townhouse. Yeah, let's take a look at that one. So, actually, the townhouse is pretty ordinary. We can take a look at it, but like this one is more extraordinary. Like $170K, and it says multi-family home. This is another one, 11 beds, 6,000 square feet. Like, are these like real? Like, is this livable condition? I mean, look at that staircase. This is a $170K 11 bedroom building. I don't know. Is it like, are there animals that live in there? Is there like water that flows through it? Does it have a septic tank? Like, I don't know the answers to all these questions. I just know that it looks like it was at some point something. And that's what this whole town looked like to me. If someone's from this town, please correct me. I'm sure I'm saying everything wrong. But it looks like there was something going on in this town once. I mean, it has apparently the oldest bakery in the country, America's oldest bakery. So there's apparently once something going on in this town, but it seems like it was a long time ago. It's like the land that time forgot. I don't know. I feel like I'm insulting this place, but I don't think I'm saying anything to people. Like, what is going on there? What's that like black streak on the floor? Like, I don't think I'm saying anything the people in that town haven't said. Oh, that looks like ripped to shit. Some of these images look like one of those video games where the place is like bombed out and you're like crouch walking through trying to sneak up on the enemy. And there's like roof falling in and stuff. So maybe that's why it's 170K. Maybe it's expected that you need to tear it down and rebuild. But I'm not sure the property is worth 160K if you're just talking about the lot. I feel like you're expected to get something out of this building, whether you're going to renovate it or strip it for parts. I'm not sure. I would assume that's already been stripped. I shouldn't say that because I have no idea. I just know I've seen that sort of thing in movies. All right, let's go to that one that looked like, this looks like legitimate offer, right? Like $285 for a townhouse. Does that seem like reasonable? Probably for this location it is. Got a nice window, multi-story. Basement, if you count the basement, it's 4 stories. I don't know if there's roof access. I mean, it looks pretty good. It's kind of thin, like, maybe not completely. I mean, I don't know, is it any better or worse than a Manhattan townhouse? The location is obviously not Manhattan. But, I mean, it looks otherwise pretty nice, right? $285K, I don't know. So anyway, we found some mysteries in looking through the Zillow. We sort of like found some mysteries. But looking at the beer, we answered some questions, and it's active. They just built this bicentennial park. But let's go back now and look at the Wikipedia, because maybe we'll find something out about this thing. Pottsville is a city and the county seat of, I might pronounce this wrong. I might pronounce everything wrong. Pottsville is a city and county seat of Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania. You know what this place reminded me of? Do you ever watch those Ancient World videos? Some people have those like Ancient World videos or Old World videos on YouTube, and they'll like go to some like Seattle or Rochester or like one of these cities and say, look at all these like buildings. Why do they all say they were built in 1870? Like that. Like I think this is one of those cities. Like a lot of this stuff in Pottsville was like second half of the 19th century. Like, why was everything built in the second half of the 19th century? I didn't mean for that to dominate this stream, but it's another on that list. I don't know if it's been covered yet. 18th century, King Charles granted the land that would become Pottsville to William Penn. Oh yeah, he gave him like the whole state, didn't he? This grant comprised all lands west and south of the Delaware and Schuylkill rivers. Present-day Pottsville was originally in Chester County. See, like, that's another thing. I'm not supposed to mention exactly where it's from because it's confidential, but I can say that I've been working on something called Chester for the last year. So, like, why this stuff always comes up? It's like, is it like, you know, when you meet people, you think it's a small world. And I feel like when I read these articles or visit these towns, I'm thinking not only is it a small world in terms of the people that you meet, it's like a small world in terms of the ideas and proper nouns and like places and things and objects. There's just like, you just keep seeing the same stuff over and over again. I can't really explain why. Pottsville's anthracite coal history. Oh, that's another one I want to show you. All right, so 1790 coal. When a coal seam was discovered by Hunter Necho Allen, legend has it that Allen fell asleep at the base of the broad mountain and woke up to the sight of a large fire. His campfire ignited an outcropping of coal. By 1795, an anthracite-fired finery forge was established on the Schuylkill River. Yeah, that reminds me of one of the other things we saw there. It was kind of a funny thing that happened when we were there. We saw this like thing that looked like a castle. Let me see if I could find the picture we took of it. And we went up to it, tried to figure out what this castle is all about. So like, here's the castle. And we go up to it, and first there's like a sign outdoors. But then second, we try to go around the back. I'm going to read you the sign in a minute. You can see it there. But we go around to the parking lot, and we're like trying to figure out how do we go into this castle. And we're there for a few minutes, and then this speaker comes on and says, like, hello, can I help you? You know, it wasn't very like friendly. I'm not even doing a great impression, but and we go, oh yeah, we just drove by, saw this castle, and wondered what's going on here. And then sort of a pissed off voice, the guy's like, this is an active prison. And I don't remember if that's all that he said, but I was like, oh, okay, we'll leave. We didn't know it was an active prison, though we had seen like 15 guys that looked like, I don't know what they look like. We thought maybe they were going to play baseball or soccer, but now that we realize this is a prison, we're now thinking they were out for their like Saturday morning walk or something like that. We definitely saw this group of 15 guys walking around the town looking strange. And now we're thinking maybe they came from the prison, but maybe not, because they weren't wearing prison clothes. Maybe that was a coincidence. Anyway, so the reason why we mistook this active prison for a museum, and the other thing is, maybe we're being trolled. Maybe this person on the speaker just makes a joke to everybody and says it's an active prison and sees how they react. And we ran away so quick that maybe you didn't have time to say, oh, just kidding, we're whatever, a museum. Here's why we thought it was a museum. So this is what was outside of it. There was like a sign. Let me see if I can get it in context. Well, here's a little more that you can see. It's a sign, but I'm not sure you could see. Oh, and here's another thing, because I keep mentioning my job and all these coincidences. The one name mentioned here, that's like the name of one of my coworkers. I mean, I know that names get reused, but that's like pretty crazy. Oh, there's two names mentioned, but one's in quotes. The one name mentioned that's not in quotes. So anyway, it says Molly Maguire executions. On June 21st, 1877, on June 21st, 1877, 6 Molly Maguires, an alleged secret society of Irish mine workers, were hanged here. Pinkerton detective James McParland's testimony led to convictions for violent crimes against the coal industry. Yet the facts of the labor, class, and ethnic conflicts, even the existence of the organization, remain contested. 4 others were hanged on this day at the county jail in Mo-Chunk. 10 more were executed in PA through 1879. Looks like maybe there's something else at the bottom there. What does that say? Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission. Right. So it says Museum Commission, but somehow this is not a museum. This is an active prison. I have to Google that next. I don't even know if that's like accurate. Anyway, it's got a sign from a museum commission, but apparently it's an active prison. We got to look into that. And again, with the coincidences, like there's one name on there and it's the name of my coworker. And but that could be more of that, like, it could be the song remains the same, or it could be like that I'm like the subject of an experiment. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's, I would call it test subject in the Portal video game. I think it's the song remains the same philosophy. I think that's what it is. I got to make that documentary so I can really explain that in detail with animations and examples and stuff. But when I read this, I kind of felt bad. Like, I mean, I guess you're supposed to feel bad, but these guys were mine workers. And they were hung. They were executed for conspiracy. Conviction for testimony led to convictions for violent crimes against the coal industry. Yet the facts of the labor class, ethnic conflicts, even the existence of organization remain contested. So they're saying there's a secret society called the Molly Maguires. Like, but then they're saying there's violent crimes. Like, did you see them do the crimes, or did you see them do the crimes, or did you just like, why are you bringing up that they're part of a secret society? Like, this is another thing that came up recently in the news. They were talking about, after 9/11, they created all those like terrorism laws. Well, in England, they're currently using those terrorism laws for criticizing the government. And it kind of reminded me that when those terrorism laws came out, I was thinking, we already have laws against murder. We already have laws against hijacking. We already have laws against arson. I don't know what the name of the law is against bombing a building that you don't own, but I don't know, some destruction of property or something. Like, there's already laws against everything that terrorists do. I remember thinking, like, I'm not sure why you need to call it terrorism. Like, how is it different? Like, what is different, like, by creating these terrorism laws? And you see what became different is that the scope changed. So they created these terrorism laws because people are like, oh, we don't want terrorists flying planes into buildings and destroying the buildings and killing 3,000 people. Yeah, that's good. Nobody wants that. But the problem is you created that law to try to stop those terrorists, and now you're using that law to stop people from criticizing attacks. You're using that law to stop people from using social media to criticize government's waste of their tax money. I mean, this is not what this law was meant to do. And you wonder, if you're, conspiracy-minded person, you might wonder, when they proposed that law, did they know there was going to be scope creep 10, 15, 20 years later? If you're super conspiracy-minded, you would wonder if that was the reason for the whole thing in the first place. Because, every time one of these events happen, they've always got documents, like, ready to go. Some people used to talk about sort of the worst one of these events ever. Dave Chappelle does a bit on it. He calls him Juicy Smollett. So this Juicy Smollett, he did this, allegedly, there was this event, and people are saying he faked it. But at the same time that this event happened, which is supposedly some people like beat him up for his ethnicity or sexuality or something like that. At the same time, Kamala Harris was trying to get this anti-lynching bill in Congress. And that's like, right? That's like exactly how things seem to happen. It's like someone wrote a bill against terrorism, and then you've got this terrorist event, and then the next day that bill gets put forward. Maybe they've got 100 bills written, and they just put them forward when the event that creates the most momentum takes place. I don't know. I'm just sort of throwing it out there. But in this case, Kamala Harris tried to tie this lynching bill, modern day lynching bill, to this Juicy Smollett, and that didn't work because Nobody believed Juicy Smollett. But somebody believed Pinkerton detective James McParland because they hung a bunch of Molly Maguires who were actually coal workers, coal miners. I just feel bad. Like, coal miners got hung. If there was violence, yeah. If then there should be, whatever the law is, like an eye for an eye or, whatever it is. Like, if they killed people, then I guess execution makes sense. But if there was a conspiracy against the coal industry, like, is that what they're saying here? Violent crimes against the coal industry? That's an interesting wording. Did anybody die? Or did they... was the crimes against a machine? Did they destroy a machine? Can you destroy a man because he destroyed a machine? What if that man doesn't have a big machine like that he destroyed? Do you destroy his house? What do? Do you put him in jail? I don't know, but they hung these Molly Maguires. I don't know anything. I don't know the first thing about this case. I just know that they hung some Molly Maguires. Maybe I'm going to look into that case. Should we look into that case? I guess we can just run another Google search. Search this time for Molly Maguire executions. See if anyone knows about this. Molly Maguire. Sounds like Mark Maguire. Do you remember how they spelled it? Molly Maguire. Autocorrect will fix the spelling. The Molly Maguires. Oh, there's even a movie from 1970. Molly Maguire executions. Execution of Molly Maguire's historical marker. So someone else took a picture of this thing too. I'd rather find like some Wikipedia. The Molly Maguires. It's probably supposed to be were, or there shouldn't be a the. But anyway, let's drop the. Molly Maguire. No, let's add the, because it's plural with an S. So let's change it to were. The Molly Maguires were an Irish 19th century secret society active in Ireland, Liverpool, and parts of eastern United States. Best known for their activism among Irish American and Irish immigrant coal miners in Pennsylvania. After a series of often violent conflicts, 20 suspected members of the Molly Maguires were convicted of murder and other crimes and were executed by hanging in 1877 and 1878. This history remains part of local Pennsylvania lore, and the actual facts are much debated among historians. I don't know. I don't have any information yet. Did you learn anything from that? No. So far, I'm not learning anything. The Molly Maguires meeting to discuss strikes in Pennsylvania and the coal mines depicted in 1874 illustration in Harper's Weekly. So that's just some Harper's Weekly illustration. Ireland. The Molly Maguires originated in Ireland, where secret societies with names such as White Boys and Peep a Day Boys, looks like the Pep Boys, were common beginning in the 18th century and through most of the 19th century. What are secret societies? That's another thing I noticed about this old town. Like I was saying, this like Pottsville is like one of those old world locations, or basically what I'm saying is a 19th century built city. I was in another one, Watkin Glen, a few years ago, and I think I've been in a few others, and there's a thing that always happens. I should have took a picture of it, but they have buildings with Freemason blocks at the bottom of the building, meaning like the Freemasons were there. So every time you find one of these old world towns from the 19th century, they have buildings with blocks at the foundation, which is tough to change a foundation block, kind of makes it seem like they built the building that are dedicated to Freemasons, or just are somehow Freemason, or maybe they carve into an existing block. The thing is, I never see any Freemasons in modern time. Like, I mean, I've heard about people claiming to be Freemasons, but I don't see any in modern time, especially not in the volume that all these buildings were built in the 19th century. Like, in the 19th centuries, the Freemasons were in every one of these cities building all of these buildings. And now nobody sees or hears from them at all. I don't know. Maybe they're operating in some other country right now. And maybe that's the case. You know, maybe you got to go where they're forming the cities. Maybe they're forming cities in some other country right now, because you certainly don't see them around here. As I said, this Pottsville looks abandoned. Agrarian rebellion in Ireland can be traced to local concerns and grievances related to land uses, particularly as traditional socioeconomic practices such as small-scale potato cultivations were supplanted by fencing and pasturing of land known as enclosure. Agrarian resistance often took the form of fence destruction, nighttime plowing of croplands, and had been converted to pasture and killing, mutilating, or driving off livestock in areas where the land had long been dedicated to small-scale growing season leases of farmland called Conacher. Opposition was conceived as retributive justice that was intended to correct transgressions against traditional moral and social codes. That's interesting. The timing of that is interesting. 1870. It's like nothing's changed. Like that's still an sore point, you know. The victims of agrarian violence were frequently Irish land agents, middlemen, and tenants. Merchants and millers were often threatened or attacked if their prices were high. Landlords' agents were threatened, beaten, and assassinated. New tenants on land secured by evictions also became targets. Local leaders were reported to have sometimes dressed as women, i.e. as mothers begging for food for their children. The leader might approach a storekeeper and demand a donation of flour or groceries. If the storekeeper failed to provide, the Mollies would enter the store, take what they wanted, warning the owner of dire consequences if the incident was reported. Interesting. While the white boys were known to wear white linen frocks over their clothing, the Mollies blackened their faces with burnt cork. There are similarities, particularly in face blackening, in the donning of women's garments with the practice of mummery, in which festive days were celebrated by mummers who traveled from door to door demanding food. I mean, that kind of sounds like Halloween. I mean, they're wearing costumes and going door to door demanding food. Why would they not just get into farming? Yeah, all right. So they disguised themselves as women in blackface and demanded money or tribute from stores. Otherwise, they threatened the owner and stole whatever they wanted. I don't know. This is like a crazy story. But, you know, it does kind of justify, you know, they were saying that these Molly Maguires were executed. Well, if all this stuff is true, then I guess that's the proper thing to do. The way that sign was written, I was thinking like, oh, they were coal miners and they wanted better, you know, union representation, so they executed them. But the way this sounds, it had nothing to do with coal mining and everything to do with robbery. But even robbery, you know, until they start assassinating people, robbery is not, you know, you don't execute people for robbery, I don't think. You have to kill, and then they can be killed. I'm not saying that should happen. Hopefully it never happens. But, you know, when you catch a serial killer, his days are usually numbered, and well, they should be, because he took life and in doing so, gave up his own. I mean, that's just kind of my understanding of the law. I don't know if it was different in the 1870s, or I don't know if these Molly Maguires, did kill people. Their headquarters was in an ale house in Alexander Pope Street, also known as Sawney Pope Street. See, again, there's like everything repeats, right? I guess there's only so many words you can create. Aren't there some words that have like 10 different meanings? All right. So we still haven't answered the question of whether there really even is a prison there, because I was still thinking that maybe we were being like goofed on. Is there, like, I don't know if that was a museum or a prison. The person over the loudspeaker told us it was a prison, but they could have been like faking us. Is there, trolling us? Is there a prison in Pottsville, PA? But maybe it's a running joke, and in which case someone else will have posted. See, that's the problem with that. They're doing that new AI answers your question. That AI is only as reliable as what other people have posted to the internet. And other people post nonsense to the internet. And then the AI picks it up like it's fact. And then someone sees that fact from the AI, they think it's real, and then they report it, and now it's like, now the internet thinks this thing is totally real when it's not. By the way, Schuylkill County Prison, and there you see, there's the picture of the same place that I took a picture of today. So apparently that's it. Now, when I was looking at this in person, I was thinking it can't hold more than 10 or 15. Yeah, Laurel Boulevard, Pottsville, PA. That's absolutely where we were. I think that's also where we bought the beer. I think they were both there. Anyway, I was thinking this thing can't possibly hold more than 10 or 15 prisoners. Like, what is the capacity? Prison, Pennsylvania. Well, it's definitely not that one. What kind of jail? Schuylkill. Medium security. Federal Correctional Institute. Male inmates in Pennsylvania is operated by Federal Bureau of Prisons, a division of Department of Justice, USDOJ. So there, USDOJ has federal prisoners in Schuylkill. Yeah, well. It's just, again, my work. It just, again, highly relates to my work. How many state prisons are in PA? How do I find an inmate in Schuylkill? I want to know how many Schuylkill. How many inmates in Schuylkill? Is that what they're called? Inmates? Now, the reason my work always comes up in everything I do is I work like 60 hours a week. So even if you might know all these references from some TV show or whatever, to me, they're like references to my job, because I'm working 60 hours a week and I've been working the same job for the last 30 years. So to me, everything feels like it has something to do with my job, because all these words repeat, all these items repeat. All right. How many? Population? 340. There's no way they fit 340 people in that tiny building, unless it goes subterranean. But I don't think it does. It didn't look like it. All right. Federal Correctional Institute, Schuylkill, Wikipedia. Let's see what the population is. Population 1,330, 340 in prison camp. What does prison camp mean in this instance? Arlen Specter, John Hayes. Non-prison jobs, various politicians including U.S. Senators Arlen Specter and John Hines, and economic development groups such as the Schuylkill, had lobbied vigorously for the project for years. On April 22nd, Federal Bureau of Prisons announced that a $40 million medium security housing 500 to 600 inmates would be built in Schuylkill. Are they claiming they built that? No, because there's a sign saying that in 1877 they executed the Molly Maguires. So this is not even accurate. Yeah, this is not the right place. So Butler Township? Is that Butler? Is that where Trump was in Butler? Butler Township? Is that the same Butler? So this is not even correct. So that place where I went today, you see what I mean? Like, that guy was just messing with me. That place where I went today wasn't a prison. It was probably a museum. So why did the guy on the loudspeaker coming from inside tell me it was like prison? I don't know. All right. It's like listing the prisoners there. So, Federal Correction Institute, Schuylkill. Schuylkill County. All right, we need the one on Laurel Avenue. Okay. I mean, of course, there's also a person named Laurel at my work, but that's, I think very common name. Laurel. Let's call it Pottsville this time. Pottsville. Prison. I'm thinking this thing only had those 15 people we saw going for a walk. All right, so now we're back to the address. Department of Corrections? State Correctional Institution. A parole locator. I don't know how to... I just want to find this freaking place. All right, let's see if we can find the image of it. All right, so there's the image of it. Now, where is that from? Pottsville Police Probe Potential Situation. Pottsville Police Probe Potential Situation at Schuylkill County. So Schuylkill County. So that's what it is. But we want... Well, we need to know the name of it. Once we know the name of it, then we can go to, like, Wikipedia. Schuylkill County Prison. So that's what we need. Schuylkill County Prison. All right. Search with Google. Schuylkill County Prison. There's the picture. Where's the Wikipedia? The Wikipedia goes to the wrong place. Jail. Now they're calling it jail. Is it a jail or a prison? I mean, it looked, based on the small size, like it was a jail, but maybe it's a combo. Schuylkill County government. All right, photos. Reviews? Do people leave reviews of prisons? You don't get to pick which prison you go to, do you? Well, I guess your lawyer can request it. You may not get it. There's a picture. 13 corrections employees. All right, so if there's only 13 corrections employees, then there can't be that many inmates. Yeah, that's it. All right, it's 2 stories. Not that that means anything. So this is what it looks like on the inside, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1? Well, it's got a number 22. So no matter what I count, it's got to go at least to 22. It's got a second floor, so we're already at 44. The rooms are likely double or triple occupancy. Yeah, they got at least 100 people in there. Well, they're probably packed in there real tight, and it's probably no fun. But I guess prison's not supposed to be fun. Schuylkill County Prison. Why the hell would they have an Instagram account? Do they have a football team? Is it like the longest yard? I can't look at anything on Instagram. Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe the guards have a team. This guy's got a ring from the Endgame Infinity War. Got the glove with the stones in it. I feel like we're wasting time here. We're not going to get this answer. Let's just say there's people there. Oh, let's see if anyone reviewed it. Pending is currently turned off. Yeah, I don't see any reviews about. Maybe we get the population there. Medium security federal prison. Again, I think that's the wrong location. Okay, I don't get it. I'm going to stop wasting time on that. And it's over an hour, so I probably should end the stream. If the stream had gone well, I would cut this up into a smaller video, quick review of this town, but I didn't even go through the pictures that we took. Let me see before I sign off if there's any interesting pictures. I think that was the prison again. Does that look like a prison door? I don't know. I think that was the prison. What's that? Schuylkill County Prison, established 1851. So it was always a prison? Like, why does it look like a castle? So that tower is just like the tower that the marksman would be in? Like they're going to shoot someone from that tower? Is that what that is? I don't know. 1851, huh? Amazing. All right. What's that? Some clock tower. Oh, the court was right across the street. I thought that was interesting. The court was across the street, and then they had that prison and those Molly McGuire sign. I thought it was very threatening, like people gonna, plead their cases. Then there was stuff. I know that I was talking about how it looked like old. Like this is kind of an example of that. It was like brick, and then when someone covered it in something, and then that something broke away, and then they've got all this like subterranean stuff. There's a lot of hills. Everywhere was hills. They've got structures added, from the outside. This is slanted. I don't know. It's just a lot of like old stuff. A lot of like stuff that was built 150 years ago, and some of it doesn't look like it's been maintained. It's like kind of like, on that like porn star show where the guy would say like, don't clean the patina, just leave it there. That's kind of how I felt in this town. I was like, oh, there's the DG Yingling and Sons. They have tours, by the way. You could go on the tour of the DG Ying or the Yingling beer brewery, the Yingling brewery. You can go on tours of it. There was a ton of churches, like an amazing amount of churches in this area, like very dense with churches. They seem to have a lot of signs respecting their soldiers, people who fought for the country, or even just cops and firemen, but also the people who fought in wars. They had like banners and statues. It was really something. There's ivy on the walls in some places. Like, we were feeling like if we'd have been there longer, we could have got a lot of sketching done, like painting, sketching. There's definitely a lot going on there. Everything is so old. It's like stuff you're not going to see like I mean, maybe, as I said, you might see it other places, like those old world videos on YouTube. Like, look at that, like, molding and stuff around the windows, around the roof. I mean, nobody does this anymore. So there's a lot to sketch and draw. And you even can, like, some of this stuff is for sale. Like, some of this stuff is for sale. Like, you can buy, like a 12-bedroom, 6-story former school and turn it into your house if you really wanted to. So, since 1829, America's oldest brewery, founded by David G. Yingling, operated continuously on this site by the Yingling family since 1831. Pennsylvania Inventory of Historic Places, Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission, Historical Society, National Register of Historic Places. It didn't seem to be operating that day. The tours were, but they didn't seem to be operating the brewery today. Maybe they don't work on Saturday, or maybe we just were there too early. So yeah, Youngling and Son, established in 1829, is the oldest operating brewing company in the United States. In 2018, by volume of sales, it was the largest craft brewer, 6th largest overall brewery, and largest wholly American-owned brewery in the United States. Its headquarters are in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. In 2015, Yuengling produced about 2.9 million barrels, operating 2 Pennsylvania facilities and a brewery in Tampa, Florida. So, Yuengling is an anglicized version of Youngling. That's funny because some people would just pronounce it Youngling. Its founder's surname and the German term for young person. So why did they teach me? See, was I being trolled again? Like the person in the, like I pronounced it Youngling, and then I thought, is that right? That kind of sounds like from Star Wars, Youngling. And then the person at the like outlet shop told me, oh, it's Yingling, like yin yang, but Yingling. And then I started thinking about the Bungie 7 steps to success, and one of them is finding Yingling's head. Because across the street from this brewery, for some reason, they had a goat head in like one of the stones. Had like a goat head, like bas relief on it. And I was thinking that this is pronounced Yingling, and there's a head across the street. And I was thinking, like, one of those Bungie to-do list items is like finding Lingling's head. And I was thinking, oh, I found Yingling's head. Is that close enough? Anyway. So apparently it's actually, Yingling is the anglicized version of Youngling. But I was pronouncing it Youngling from the start. Anyway, I don't know which. Now I'm confused if it's Yingling or Youngling. Yingling traditional lager and amber lager is popular enough in Pennsylvania and Delaware Valley to be ordered in some bars by simply asking for a lager. From 1920 until 1985, Yingling produced ice cream. Yingling ice cream returned to market in 2014. Oh, so you can buy ice cream. Why are they not in ballparks? Why are they a craft brewery? German brewer David Gottlieb Yingling immigrated to the United States in 1828. Wow, he got right to work. Started brewing in 1829. It must have been like single barrel operation back then. From Aldingen near Stuttgart in Kingdom of Württemberg, he anglicized his name from Youngling to Yingling and began the Eagle Brewery on Center Street in Pottsville in 1829. Yeah, I see the eagle on the logo. There's like many eagles here. Oh, where is that? Where is that eagle? There's like eagle. But that's not the only one. There's plenty others. You know what was a cool one? This one. I don't know. Oh, you can't see it. How about from here? Yeah, there you go. 21 plus to enjoy. I appreciated that. I just said 21 plus to enjoy. And then there's the eagle. You got to be 21 to enjoy it, right? There's a parrot on this one. I don't know if there's an eagle anywhere on the Bongo Fizz. Yeah, don't see it. How long do they last? No, I thought it was going to be expiration date there. There's like 3 numbers there. I don't know what that's all about. The first brewery burned down in an 1831 fire, and company relocated to Mahantongo Street at 5th Street, its current location. Yeah, that's where it was, and that coffee place was right next to it. By the way, it looked like the building that they were using as a brewery looked to me like a firehouse. I don't know if it previously was or what. Excuse me. During the late 19th century, breweries were also open in Saratoga Springs, New York, Trail, British Columbia. Merged with the Pottsville plant, Frank Yingling began heading the company in 1899 after his father, Frederick, died during the Prohibition era. Yingling survived by producing near beers. Yeah. They survived by producing near beers. I'm assuming. Oh. Somehow I lost my... what happened here? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yingling experienced an increase in sales after renewed interest in history due to the United States bicentennial in 1976. Excuse me. Yingling brought the rights to the Mount Carbon Bavarian premium beer name and the label when Mount Carbon Brewery went out of business in 1977. Yingling initially brewed beer at Mount Carbon, but eventually abandoned it. I'm going to have to stop the stream because I've just been talking too long. All right. Amber Lager. I mean, I'm not doing anything here. I was just reading Wikipedia. Oh, there's the ice cream. There's the Yingling ice cream. Pennsylvania's finest. All right. Let's end it on that note. Yingling ice cream. Let's try that and talk again. I'm John Rapp. This is Just Rest Your Eyes. Good night, and see you tomorrow.